Good evening to all. Myself Chandana. Today I want to tell about active and passive voice and uses of active and passive constructions. Let's go to the topic. What are there in this topic? Introduction, voice definition, active voice definition, passive voice definition, rules of active voice and passive voice, practice exercise, and last one is conclusion. Let's go to the topics. First one, introduction. In this chapter, we learn about what is meant by voice, active voice, passive voice, and their rules. And we do some exercise on this topic also. First one, I have to know what is meant by voice. I think so. All of you know that what is meant by voice. A way of expressing a statement is called a voice. And voice again classified into two types, active voice and passive voice. First one, active voice. If the subject denotes the work or action done by the subject and has an object, it is said to be in active voice. Subject structure, subject plus verb plus object. Example, Finkel likes adventure stories. Lata is learning French this year. Here active voice means the action which is done by the subject. So that is known as an active voice. See, here structure is subject plus verb plus object. In this example, what is the subjects? In first example, subject is Twinkle, and the second example subject is Lata. Verb, likes, learning. Object, adventure stories, French this year. And next one, passive voice. If the word denotes the work or action done to the subject, it is said to be in passive voice. Structure, object plus verb plus subject. Example, the ball was kicked by Ajay. Lata is learning French this year. Here, work and action is said by the subject, that is done by the subject, is known as active voice. This is said by the subject is known as passive voice. Structure, object plus verb plus subject. Example, here the ball was kicked by Ajay. Here object is ball, verb is was kicked, and subject is Ajay. And the rule of active and passive voice. In active voice, if is, am, or there in the question, then to change the passive voice, we have to change is as in is on, am, or, and for that extra we have to use ing. If in the question they give has or have, so in passive voice we have to write has or have plus been, have to add been. If in the question they give had, was or were, we have to convert in passive voice as was or were plus being. If in the question they give will or shall, we have to change will be or shall be in passive voice. If in the question they give like shall have, we have to change as shall have been in passive voice. And in active voice, I changes to mean passive voice, and we changes to us, he changes to him, she changes to her, and they changes to them. Let's see the some rules of passive voice for conversion, passive and active. How to convert active to passive and passive to active. The subject of the active verb becomes the subject of the passive verb. If the subject of if we want to change active voice into passive voice, active voice of verb changes to passive voice of subject. The active sentence's subject becomes the object of the passive sentence. The active sentence of the subject becomes object of the passive sentence. In object of active verb becomes subject of the passive. Here active sentence subject becomes object of the passive sentence. The finite form of the verb is changed to past particle or V3 form, and the finite verb and changes to V3 form, and the preposition by is used before the passive object. Before passive object we had to use preposition. Let's see some exercise. For example, the dog catched the cat. So this is the active voice. We have to change this into passive voice. Let's see what the rule. First, in active voice the dog changes to cat. What is the rule to change the passive voice? In active voice, object changes to subject. So the cat was chased by the dog. So we have to use prepositions. So by is the preposition. So we are using the preposition. The cat was chased by the dog. This is the passive voice. Next, the peon rang the bell. This is the active voice. We have to change it into passive voice. The bell was rung by the peon. English is taught to us by Miss Vinita. This is the passive voice. Now we have to change the active voice. For example, in the exam they give passive voice, they ask to change the active voice, or else in exam they give active voice, we have to change to them as passive voice. So if we give like this the passive voice in a question, English is taught to us by Miss Vinita. This is the passive voice. So we have to change into this as active voice. So Miss Vinita teaches us English. Next, the fish was eaten by cat. This is the passive voice and we have to change into this as active voice. The cat ate the fish. Conclusion. Active voice emphasizes the doer of the action while passive voice emphasizes the receiver. Active voice emphasizes the doer of the action and the passive voice emphasizes receiver. Choose voice based on context for clear and effective communication. Mastering active and passive voice enhances writing skills and improves our overall clarity. Here, active voice and passive voice are useful to us for speaking in English fluently, and it is most useful in our future also. So thank you for giving this opportunity. Have a wonderful